Streaming with YouTube this month. Thank you, Nick, on that. Just to get started here with our agenda, we do have a quorum of all the board members. Everyone is present and accounted for. Proof of notice, we had that posted at the exit gates within 48 hours, and I know that there was an email that got sent out, updates for multiple things that had to change on it, as well as the website, so we're good there. From the reading and disposal of prior minutes, Maria has issued an updated one because there was the blurb about being streamed on YouTube in the top, but we didn't stream last month, so that's been removed, but that was the only change made there, so I think we are good from that point. So unless anyone else saw any changes from what we recall from last month. Okay. So with that, I'll make the motion then to waive the reading of the minutes and accept them as presented by Maria's email. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass unanimously. Next up, status reports. Going into financial reporting here. Overall for the month, let's see, we had some timing issues around some of the expenses here, especially in G&A. Last month we did not have the Larson invoice inputted in time or accrued. It was not received. So that amount we got expense for this month is basically 2 months worth of legal bills, so it showed unfavorable for the month. Overall, we're still about where I thought we would be anywhere for the year. Grounds committee, we still have the routine infrastructure and maintenance as a constant. Haven't removed any trees. The annuals, that's more about timing than anything. I believe the new annuals are going in this week from what I got a text from Rightview on that, so that should be going in. And then our monthly $262 we get from Rightview for this year on the clawback on the price.
We took back.
Yeah. Guardhouse. Security services, you see the $1,000. Next month, you're probably going to have close to an offsetting negative just for the timings based upon the productive work weeks and how they close out payroll and invoices. Police patrol was $267 favorable. I think I saw in one of Parks' emails that we had, I think it was like a week or maybe a little over a week where we didn't have one of the shifts because a guy transferred to another type of thing, but he had filled it now, so that to me is a one-time due to that transition of resources. Yep. And then maintenance and repair is $100 favorable, so we haven't had to do anything up there lately. Utilities it got a little better than it was last month. We're still running the irrigation, which I think when we do the budget again, we're going to have to figure out because irrigation is consistently over what we're assuming. I think we just have, and especially if we do some new landscaping and plantings, I mean, you got to water to get it to keep. So I mean, we're probably going to have to make an adjustment for the 2019 budget at some point there. Electric, we still are running favorable like we do every month there to kind of offset it a bit. Reserve expense, nothing new there. So for total expenses, for the month, we're about $1,750 favorable overall for what we thought in the budget. So not bad overall. I mean, you still have the, what I would consider the usual suspect of utilities around irrigation, and then the G&A, a lot of that gets explained away with timing and whatnot. So we'll pick it up next month there. Year to date, from an income perspective there, you see we're about $1,800 favorable. So we picked up some late fee income there as well as interest being paid on delinquent balances. And then obviously we hit the interest on our operating and interest on reserve accounts that come into that bucket. Just as a note for next month when we get the financials, that's where you're going to see the addition of a new account, a contra revenue account, which is essentially the Avalon credit will be the offset there. So we'll have the actual number booked, as well as April will have the revised budget numbers in there too.
Oh, good. So
that coincides with Q2's payment. That's why. And I think we paid out the Avalon assessment in the middle of this month. Thing. So it'll all roll in April, so we'll have some adjustments to make there. G&A there, management fees were still favorable, $2,600 there. Legal, $1,400 unfavorable. And that's about where considering our usage on some of the issues we have going on, that doesn't surprise me at all. I can take us through that when we go through different spots in the slides. Social, Nick, you don't spend anything, so there's $1,000 there.
I complain.
And then you've got in the room rental there, it's $1,152 unfavorable. $749 or $768 of that is associated with the online voting platform that got booked into there.
Oh.
We might have to find a new home for that next year because it's really not technically a meeting thing. I'd rather have something to call that out. And then you also had in January we had the full $700 and I think it was $60 or whatever it is for the $720 for the year, all 12 meetings. Was booked at a one time versus being accrued and then expensed on an actual basis. So that you're going to have a declining unfavorable balance because the $60 a month keeps coming back on that. So grounds overall $62.50 in the routine infrastructure maintenance. Tree removal is sitting well at $2,000. Grounds maintenance, we've almost picked up almost $800 from our price clawback, and then wall repairs we haven't had to do anything so far this year, $500 there. Gatehouse here, $500 for police patrol. That's just been some, like I said, the resource transition that we recently had, as well as some shifts couldn't get covered for issues that came up and whatnot. $250 within camera maintenance. There's some of the stuff that's going into miscellaneous, I believe in G&A, that needs to go into camera maintenance that I saw. But I had already sent Bernadette a note on that.
Okay.
So we probably have a few things that are going to get reclassed to match it correctly. That's why that's showing favorable. And then $125 in miscellaneous. Utilities, as you can see there, it's irrigation is a big one, the $27.76. Electric was $7.75. So. That account's not going to recover this year on that. That's going to be red the entire year. So far for reserve, 23 grand is what we put in reserve already. Total expenses were $5,600 favorable overall. So 5.7%. That's pretty good. That's what we expected so far, even with the horrific performance within irrigation. We're still tracking well. 5% is pretty good only, basically first quarter through things. Oops. I'm using a Windows computer tonight, so.
Oh, Lord, help us.
There we go. That was a wrong
You had to work
keystroke for a
that.
PC.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, you had to work the mouse or the keyboard.
I know exactly what you did, so I was like, you pressed the wrong button.
Let's see, operating surplus on hand, we're still forecasting 339 days, so we're still, I don't know too many HOAs that are our size and are as robust as that. You have to go into the larger, 1,000-unit condo associations to get some kind of, performance like that. Net income there. As you can see, I added another bar. So year-to-date through March, our quarter one net income to net revenue, we're at 6.2% overall. So you can see that we're tracking above our stretch target of the 5.4%, and our forecast is 6.0% from last month. So that also factors in, what the impact from the Avalon assessment credit is going to be too. So we're still tracking where we should to be, get to 6%, which if we can do that and suck up that 20+ thousand without any kind of impact to projects or anything, that's a big win. So receivables you see here, as you can see in the green lines there. Again, this is a snapshot of what you would call our pure seasonality, because you're going to have the exact inverse starting next month. It'll be up because April is a payment. So we're down, to about 19,000 at the end of March outstanding, and within that 19,000, you're probably looking at, I want to say like 70% of it's loaded within 2 or 3 accounts. So. There is, some little stuff here and there, and I believe we should have an email coming in. There was a resident reached out to me. They are going to ask for a waiver, a one-time waiver on their late fee. So as soon as I get, I'll pass it along. But that should be a no-brainer. We'll get that knocked out and taken care of. Assessment receivables, a little higher than last year right now. That number is actually going to change, unfortunately, because we're going to change the revenue base that is going to be going against, starting with the credit impact there. So that's going to, I guess you want to say, I'll have to put together a slide to give a normalized view versus, I guess, the actual impact view. And then you can see there, so out of 19,000, you're looking at 13,000 sitting with some accounts 90 days over, which are 7. And out of that 7, there's 2 or 3 that make up the bulk on that. So I mean, this is, I have a larger one that really charts this for the last, I think I've got almost 10 years of data on this. This is all within what you'd expect. There's nothing falling outside of any statistics that I run in the background on this. So we went from...
Well, 7 accounts.
Yeah. But I mean, Mike can attest to that. You were over when, with the housing crisis and all that. I mean, we were in the 70,000s outstanding, and then, there's a lot more.
Or higher at the time.
Not to mention the legal costs, the time, effort, and energy going into collections, and so we're doing okay right now on that, I would think. Project dashboard, I'll highlight this. So I highlighted the stuff that we have open. You probably can't see it too good. You have to make a note to fix that for next month. But the gatehouse enhancements, we've opened that back up. I'll talk about that within infrastructure, but that's now active again. We still have the road sealing and repairs that's open. We want to get the sidewalk work done before we actually do that. Kind of coordinate that in a smart way. Speaking of annual sidewalk grind and replacement, we have the entire bid analysis in here. I apologize for sending you 3 separate decks, but we had last minute, the last bid come in, so I had to refresh everything. And then LED electronic exit sign is still open, and Lou, we can talk about that when we get to that point in the agenda, but that's still an open one. We did close the entry exit gate improvements. Yep.
I had a question, actually Sue had questioned this on the sidewalk repair. Are there any repairs along the entrance road? Okay, because to the park, okay, because they're not marked, so we were just wondering if they were.
And we'll go through that. They were in the scope of that.
Okay,
they may not have been called out, like some of the vendors didn't mark anything,
yeah,
but they had their sheet,
okay,
and some, it's quite obvious where there's a repair going to be needed, because they X'd it out.
Yeah.
So, but, it was part of that. And it was actually, it's funny because if you notice, they've been tearing up in front of our walls, the sidewalks there. Actually, when I was out with one of the vendors, that's when I tripped on it because it was out in front. And I'm like, so then I called Orange County. I'm like, all right, who owns this? Who's going to do this? I mean, if I need to put in scope, I got to know. And they said, we'll have somebody come out there and take a look at it. And then all of a sudden, they just started working. So,
Okay.
Well,
I'm like,
take it and run.
Yeah.
Don't ask any
Like, all right.
questions.
Call back, say thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Don't raise
yeah.
any flag.
We'll just let that one die before
Exactly.
I get an invoice to come in or something.
It seems like they've been very ambitious about the number of sidewalks to remove. I wonder if they're not suggesting to remove more than necessary.
We'll get into that. I got the breakdown, and I saw, and there's 1 or 2 vendors that are very aggressive in how many they remove, and then there's other, it comes down to, do we want to grind them or do we want to remove them? So we'll take a look at that when we get into it, but you are correct. There was one specific vendor is very aggressive. I think there's like 207 panels they wanted to take out. I'm like, yeah, okay. But we'll get into that in the slides, and we can see the detail behind that. The other thing is we'll get into it on some potential landscaping opportunities that we would be looking at in the future here, as well as the front recreation. We'll go into that. I'll get your opinion because we probably want to set up a parent, like a program, and then have some sub projects or parent-child relationship, and run that as a program to see what we can do to phase in for different aspects of it. But I broke it down in the slide to take a look at. So.
Okay, cool.
Online strategy. So we continue, our traffic still continues to climb here. I moved this to green on everything.
Oh,
so
that's good.
there haven't been too many issues with logins. That really died down. I think I have one outstanding email I have to get to on that, but everything else seems to be working well. The new ARB form should be released by the end of the week at the latest. That's the one that actually allows you to put stuff in, attach, and more closely mirrors what you would expect out of the paper if you printed off the paper copy and filled it out by hand. So, okay, committee status reports. ARB, I didn't have a lot for you. Just that we had some meetings. I don't know if you want to expand on that.
Actually, it's pretty quiet. We've gone through most of the outstanding ones. The only one that we're working is the new construction over on Emerald Chase. That one still is being worked with the builder. We got approval from Tom Slayton regarding the deviation, regarding the roof pitch. It's a minor deviation, but we did run it through Tom. And then we just needed to go through all the other discrepancies as to the original rejection, which the builder expected.
Because they didn't know, right? Yeah.
So we will go through that and then set up a meeting with the builder to follow on with that. We do have a dumpster request that was submitted. And so I was going to say we could approve it. We do have a quorum of the ARB. If there's no objections, the meeting's been called to order. So if there's no objections to, it's on Woodchase Circle, and so we'll just approve that and move on with it. There's nothing special.
So we would approve that one, or Avalon ARB?
It was submitted to Turtle Creek. Yeah. And I was just going to.
Half a dozen now.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's...
And I have a bigger question. For when those come in, is that going to be an actual approval? Or is that, should be just kind of treated like an FYI, type of thing, that we at least know? And,
we do have the written policy.
I haven't looked at it, that's why I'm asking.
I thought the policy required an approval because they're approved for 30 days, and if you want an extension, you have to request it. So that implies there's approval. Now, if we re-looked at that policy from a process improvement perspective, I would probably say the ARB chair or delegate can just approve it if it's just a plain dumpster that's compliant.
We should do that. We should update that policy to do that if it's not done already.
I mean, there's really no...
We're not going to decline it. You know what I mean? People's got to gut, right? They got to...
The big issue, I think, is with it, continuous extensions. But it's really a function of the type of work they're doing. So the new construction, I mean, they're going to have dumpsters for a year. It's just construction. The one across the street that's doing the remodeling.
Even Matt's house is going to have a dumpster, multiple probably out there for a while.
They could probably share.
Well, they get charged by the pound, I believe.
So
they may not want to. And then there is the one in Avalon that's been there probably for 6 months now. But what happened was they were doing the work, and then they discovered all kinds of other stuff, and then the county had some issues.
Oh, no.
So again, it's one of those ones is they're not sitting and just letting the dumpster sit there.
It's just a nightmare.
Active construction job. And it's it just needs to get done. They kept it clean, so that's probably a policy improvement that I would do. So with the dumpster request, I'll just sign it and approve it.
Okay.
What about the driveways, the landscape?
That one I was going to hold off because I actually have a paper that I've gotten probably about 25 to 30% done. And so I wanted to circulate it amongst the committee, and then we can circulate it amongst the board. And if there's concurrence, then we can send it to Tom Slayton for his review, and then go through the process of sending it out to the community, and then having the board approve it. So that is being worked.
So you're creating a white paper for us on
Yes.
it?
Yes. Actually, plagiarizing the makers steps. When you look out there, there's a lot of junk ones, and then there's actually a few that people have actually spent some time thinking about it as to what type of guidelines can you use that are constructive to the community, but take into account certain things that a reasonable person would say, that's really outside the box. So, in any case, I was going to shoot to have it done for this meeting, and then realized that from a business practice, that wasn't the best plan. So, let me make a commitment that in a week and a half, we will get that out for review.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Social committee.
Nothing.
You're not.
We're not spending money. No one gets to complain. No, nothing planned. I mean, we could plan something for the summer months, but usually it's just we start throwing ideas around. It rains a lot in the summer months, so outdoor events usually get thrown out as well. So
maybe we
it's
plan
kind of a little.
for 4th of July,
Yeah,
That
like
would be fun.
we could.
like hot dogs, barbecue, or something.
Yeah, honestly, that we could maybe throw that idea around. Just see what it would be to.
Food trucks for
Yeah.
4th of July.
I know we
get
tried.
together.
Didn't we try to get food trucks?
I know we talked about it. We never really kind of.
Yeah, we never moved
against
forward on
but
it, did we?
I don't know. That's not my thing, so I'll leave that up to
Yeah.
So
somebody.
they want some sort of guarantee.
Do they want like a
Yeah, that was-
amount or
Yeah,
something
that's
like
what
that?
Yeah, that was one thing that I think I did actually research it, and we didn't move forward because they either did need a guarantee,
Mhm.
or we would either pay them or they would need to make money off sales. So it was either we were going to have homeowners pay for the food, or we were going to pay the truck. So
Maybe
it
we
was
just do something.
we had to
basic
look at it.
and
Yeah.
nothing like.
Why don't we target like a July 4th timing
Yep.
type of thing, and let's take a look. And next meeting's in May. That will give us enough lead time.
Yeah, I'll start throwing some ideas around costs of it.
Have
Yeah.
a barbecue truck come in or something like that?
Yeah. See if we need permitting. Do we need permitting for food trucks?
I have no idea.
I'll look into it. Yeah.
So,
Okay, cool.
all right, put that on your to-do list.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
It's food. I'll be
Yeah.
happy to do that.
There's gonna be a lot of taste tests.
Yeah,
samples needed.
I need to test your food truck before any of these lovely homeowners get it.
Okay, so we'll look for that next one.
Okay.
Or if you get stuff beforehand, just keep emailing it out.
Yeah, I'll email it. Yeah, see if anyone has other ideas.
Let's see, IT committee.
That's you.
All right. So let me go through this. Financially, we are going good. The actual, as you can see, for the last couple months has been zero. Leland agreed to waive the entire year of fees for the website due to all the delays, so we saved money there.
Lovely.
So we're all good there. And that'll catch us up, because I know we did have a few things with Amazon come in. And we do have the Amazon, the S3 bucket set up for the photos and everything. So those should be moving up there. I'm probably going to have to, I want to make sure I grab another copy. I'm going to have to check if that link still works. It should, because he got paid.
Hopefully. Yeah. Well,
If not, I'll have to repost it.
I'm
again.
sure he'll save them at least for a little while. So.
Yeah, so I'll try to get that, or if you want to grab a set, just so we have a duplicate.
Yeah, that's a good
on
point.
that, while I mess around with that and make sure the AWS thing's connected and right.
Okay.
The HOA document library, we pretty much have everything up there. It's, the problem is there was the backup that's connected to Amazon Web Services has slowed the posting. They're trying to, the initial sync on an S3 bucket it always takes a full copy and then it looks for materialized views after. So the initial data sync is what always takes the longest amount of time. But there were some firewall and port authorization issues from where it was sitting with the web hosting company, the people with the platform. So we've had to open up, I think it's port 80 and 443 for two-way bidirectional. So that takes a little bit of it has to have the patches applied and do that. So I'm hoping once we get done with that in the next 5 to 7 days, everything will just appear then, because then it should just rip through it, because there's no major big files other than, they're just PDFs, all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I mentioned the ARB form, get that out there, so hopefully we can get something a little bit better for the ARB committee instead of having to go back to people, oh, by the way, with all the stuff that's not on the original form. And then the enhancements, I've got the list, I'll send that out, but I was looking at the website, I'm like, okay, what enhancements do we need? The biggest one right now is the vehicle decal labels. I'm having the developer create I guess you want to say an API where it can be linked to a Excel spreadsheet, and it'll just refresh itself, find the account, and put it up there, versus having to go in and manually go through 176 homes with how many decals per home, license tag, vehicle make model. It should just all flow seamless. So
It's a little database, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it needs, because there is a place in the profile that says vehicle tags. So it is in there. It already lives within the framework and infrastructure. So it just needs to get the data up there seamlessly. So we're working on that. The other thing that we want to get out there too is we originally had this set up where you could register your pet. So we can have like a pet count, and you can put a picture of your pet, whatever it is, and potentially if there's a problem, you lose your pet or something, it makes it a lot easier. We can have a blast and just link to the pet. You can have his name and all the rest of the stuff right there. So that's
Put that
coming
on
up.
Twitter too.
Yeah, do that.
Kids too.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can register that now. If you lose your
What, to register the kids?
That may be on purpose. You probably don't want that.
Exactly.
But some of the other things we're looking at then is just going through all the functionality of the e-forms to drive that. And then the thing we probably need to look at then is a new homeowner welcome package. I think we discussed this before.
Yeah.
But to get that available as soon as possible, get it on the website and get new homeowners registered for email and online voting as soon as you can, so we can keep moving us out of paper altogether.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be nice.
some of the other things are more just on the back end, just from a functionality perspective. That's more just for ease of maintenance. But those are kind of like the core ones. I don't like to overload the developers too much. They get a little bit wonky. They have too much going. So I figure we start with that. We can get it released, test it, and then look at our next phase and just keep. I mean, for what we want to do with the website. It's a living, breathing thing. I mean, we want people to go there and be their first stop, or really their only stop for anything Turtle Creek. The other thing, now I think of it, I was having them look at is how do we embed a page in there where you can watch the YouTube from the website.
Oh.
So you won't have to go to YouTube. You can just, if I'm comfortable going to the website, I can log in. It'll be an iframe, and then it just takes the feed as soon as. You just embed the iframe and everything in there. So hopefully that.
One-stop shop. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So that's something. We can do that, I'm sure, but I just want to make sure everything tests out and
of course.
all that kind of stuff. But I mean that would be a big one too to I think drive people to one-stop shopping.
But at least now we have a link to YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
currently we do, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's see, infrastructure. Financially speaking, we're still running well. Exit gate message boards under review. We have that later in the agenda. Alden gate services completed the gate work up front. We had no issues reported.
Till tonight.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
But it didn't hit anybody. So
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. If it doesn't open, that's a whole different. That's a different triage thing that's routed someplace else. Advanced Tree Pros did do their tree trimming that we contracted them to do. I especially noticed the difference at the playground. If you notice that, you can now see the playground.
Oh, yes.
They trimmed everything back and up, where everything was so, I guess you want to say 15, 17 years of growth had come in there. It needed to be lifted, and they did a really good job on that.
Cleaned it up.
As well as some of the shooters that were coming out towards the tennis court from that large oak, towards the basketball. I mean, they're starting to, lean. They also did around the back of our property where we had the wall incident at the hurricane level. They trimmed back a lot of that stuff, mitigated a potential risk for the homeowner who sits on that direct side where in the back of the tennis court, took care of something there. So I mean, they did a really good job on that. So
they did. It looks good up there.
and they had some other selective pruning they did throughout the community, and every of the trees, they came out really well on that.
Who did you use?
Advanced Tree Pros. Brightview is working on some proposals for landscape. They proactively want to throw some stuff out there for us. We'll take a look at it. I know we got one, Sue, for the front with those. I forget what those trees are called.
Magnolia is what he said.
Yeah, something like it's like a it's not it's a smaller magnolia. It's a different type that doesn't have quite the, I guess, the expansive root base on there. We'll look at it. I mean, there was other stuff in the front, like that island, you know, where the flag is.
Yeah.
The bushes that go around there, those green ones, they're past their prime. They did not get replaced when I first came on the board. We approved the large scope of the up front and the signs. That they've been there for a while, so it's time for them to head out and see what we can do to, you know, freshen that area up. And then directly in front of the window for the gatehouse, those ties or whatever. I mean, they never came in right. I mean, and I want something that, you know, if we could just get something to kind of cover, because you have the pipe that sits there. You know, the water release valve is there or whatever.
It's messy over there, right in front of the
So they still have to produce that, and then some of the other things we'll get into when we go there that way. But they're pushing them out there. We're under no obligation. But I said on them, that's fine. Send me whatever you want. We'll take a look at it as a group.
It's good to look at the ideas they have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have no fault. We're not paying for it. You know. So I mean, they can send whatever they want. If we like something, then fine. We'll contract you. So.
Right.
So upcoming items here. Tennis court fence RFP, we have to get that going, and I have it pretty much done. The sidewalk RFP we'll approve tonight, and then exit gate LED sign, I had April approval. That's probably going to push, depending on what we have, but we'll look at that. So getting into the summer months here, we can get some of this stuff done, and you know, if we do landscaping, now's the time to kind of get this going and all that. So probably want to amp up infrastructure here. Access control, before I ask you, Nick, on this, I did talk to Parks. He's going to be, he agreed to come on site and bring maybe one or two of the other guys he knows off the sheriff's office to basically either walk the community or drive through it to look for any kind of, I want to say, blind spots within our surveillance system. I've sent them over what we have, because Lincoln put together kind of a detailed schematic of, you know, what's the coverage, if it's a 360, if it's a 180 or 270. You can see where, you know, the view patterns are. And I said, you know, if we're looking at, you know, doing this, and if we, you know, want to install some more cameras, then where would be the best thing? And I mean, the sheriff's office is probably the best people to ask on that stuff. So
do we think we have many blind spots, or?
I've got a couple ideas.
There's a few.
Yeah, I'd like
a few that we could.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we obviously have the infrastructure to support it. I mean,
Right.
when we built out the last upgrade, I mean, we have right now with our circuit switch and cloud, I mean, we can expand up to another, I think, probably 1 or 2 dozen cameras if we really wanted to.
I think we need to think about increasing the quality of the images more than increasing the number of.
I thought we did have this.
Some cameras are new, some are old, I believe, right?
Yeah,
we have a mix of
about
them.
half and half. You've got 2 more that are about to get replaced with the new model high definition ones.
Because the images which we reviewed last time,
They were not very good.
yeah, I mean, what's the use of a camera if you don't get any information from it? Yeah, you see a person is passing by, but this will not give you a lot of information. You need to see the face, registration number, or the car, or even the car you can't recognize. It's white with maybe white, and so.
Because I know from some of the stuff, the camera information that we've given to the sheriff's department, I guess they must have a different program to look at that stuff, obviously, because they had no problem pulling off some of the stuff. I couldn't make out, you know, to your point, on a car, you couldn't make it out.
Oh yeah,
they knew exactly what it was.
amplify,
They said, it looks like this is a, an M300 Mercedes, and this is the license number. Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, so I mean, it's there. I just don't know if it's showing up as well after we transpose it. I mean, I'm sure if we if I could probably direct access it from the cloud, where where it's living, and then pull it down on a high res, like a 4K screen or something like that, and increase it, and manipulate it that way. Versus, you're getting it kind of secondhand, onto a thumb drive or whatever, or taking a snapshot. But we'll look at it though. But I know we are rolling through, continue to replace the cameras that need attention.
Yeah.
Because there are some that are coming to end of life, and usually about 2 years is a useful life on them.
Right.
Yeah.
Considering heat and weather and extremities like that, so.
Yeah, and also another thing is nighttime. Like nighttime cameras really haven't. I mean, you can get there and get amazing quality from in the middle of the night, but they're very expensive. Or you need to put light in that area to light up the camera. So it's kind of a tricky situation because cameras really haven't made huge developments when it comes to night vision. I mean, they're still impressive compared to 5 or 10 years, but right now it's still a cost it's pretty high if you want good night vision. So, it's like, what do we look into, lighting or new cameras or just wait it out until the technology really improves.
And some of it could be lighting too, because I told them, I said, we're not just asking you to say, hey, where do we put a camera? Does it make sense for us to put some kind of like a landscape lighting someplace or something like that from a sheriff's department view and what they see and what they're used to overall?
What is that?
So you'll tell them to add that to their scope too when they're walking through the neighborhood?
They already know
lighting,
that.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, what is that, Island, is it Island Lake back there?
Yeah.
The dead end street,
Island Lake.
that is, it's so dark back there. I can barely see, if I was just coming down there, you can't see the wall. It's that dark.
Yeah.
So there's certain areas that just, lighting would even just do enough to really help those cameras out. They can't, I mean, if it's dark, it's dark. Their infrared cannot go endlessly.
And that's what we had talked about before, and I'll reach out to one of the residents who lives down there and give some ideas on lighting.
Yeah.
And see whether they can illuminate the wall a bit, because that would be a big help to, but not make it so obnoxious.
That would be a deterrent
It
as
doesn't,
well,
it doesn't need to be like crazy lighting, but enough to illuminate the area, whether we make it landscape lighting and make it look nice back there. I mean, it doesn't have to be spotlights like in a prison, but like any form of lighting would benefit those cameras. Phenomenal.
Well, and also, I mean, could we create some bush there, kind of like what we did on the other side? Because that's just a blank wall, and we could add some of those podocarpus again, right? That would grow tall or something.
Yeah, it's always.
And then that would accent the landscape lighting, that we're not just accenting a wall. Right,
we can look at that. Let's see if we can create a deterrent like that.
Yeah.
But that'll be coming. Nick, I'll loop you in for that.
I'd wait till the sheriff's office gives their recommendation.
Yeah,
Maybe
right.
add to it or see. I mean, if they come out with the same idea, then boom, we got it. We got it covered.
I want you there too to walk around with the.
Oh yeah. Just let me know.
I'll let you know.
Let me know when it's scheduled.
Yeah, end of April, beginning of May, probably beginning of May.
Yeah.
The way it's looking like with their schedules. So.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so I think that covers us there. Moving into continuing business. Next two slides here are dealing with a couple, I guess you want to say, governance items. Previously, if you want to go in the way back machine, we had Tom Slayton look at all of our governing documents and offer up some suggestions on, what could we do to, take out some superfluous language, adjust stuff that doesn't make sense anymore, strip out where we could. Obviously, we're not going to be doing any kind of major renovations to the covenants because of the necessity of the community vote, and that's too hard. That's too hard to take care of at this point. Try to get that level, but we can make adjustments where it makes sense within the bylaws, as well as implement a couple of the policies or resolutions that we wanted to. So the bylaw amendments that we had was within Article 5, Section 2 with checks and drafts and et cetera. Right now, it basically says that the president and the treasurer sign all the checks. That was probably when Gallimore did it. They were signing it.
Right.
That doesn't, I don't sign any checks, you don't sign any checks, it's all legal.
Right.
So we would add to that current language a resolution of the board of directors to designate one or more agents, like a community association manager, signed in place of the officers. I mean, it's being done today.
Yeah.
We'll just put it in there.
So that's actually a change to reflect more of what's happening.
Yeah, that's the change in reality.
Can I make a suggestion about that, based upon experience? That even though legal is signing the checks, you might want to have one or two board members on there. Phillips Landing, as an example, had me on it, and then later some other associate people on it. And of course, I retired, and some of the people from associate retired. and all of a sudden they needed money out of one of their accounts, and nobody was on the signature card. They still had the same board of directors, but not one of the board of directors was on the signature card, so they had a great deal of trouble getting the money transferred to the new account.
And that, I don't know who's on our signature card, to be honest. I'll make a note to look at that, because that is a good point. If, you know, if we're to leave Leland or something and we need to transfer the money, we walk into...
Leland could hold us off?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I mean, just from a, you know, from a process, you know, robustness standpoint, yeah. Because I know that we have two banks that we deal with for our finances. Is it BB&T, Chase and Bank of America, something like that. I forget. I mean, it changed over when Ryan was still working in the account. But no, that's a good suggestion. I'll follow up on that. Okay. The other item here is with the term of office for the committees. Right now, that you know, we say you basically every committee member is on a one-year term. Since we're already going to be sending something out, let's just kill this where it says, you know, basically that person is, you're going to stay, if you're appointed to the landscape committee, you're going to be on the landscape committee until you resign or remove, or you know, you don't want to do it, or they dissolve the landscape committee, which makes more sense, and it's not, you know, people aren't continuing to operate under that assumption that, you know, it's only a one-year term. It just reflects what
we're doing.
Yeah, it is what it is at that point. So those would be the bylaw amendment piece of it. The next one, the resolution here, we had vendor policies and procedures. This is the one I know we had talked about previously, where we want to put in place a formalized document, resolution, policy, whatever you want to call it, that we only use external third-party vendors, you know, that follow the defined, you know, disclosure list of items that they need to, you know, produce, which really is within our RFP too, to qualify them to work on anything related to Turtle Creek, either product or service-wise. It would not allow for any board member, committee member, or association member to engage in any kind of compensated relationship, either goods or services, for the association. Now, you can, if the state does say you can recognize a conflict of interest, because I mean, conflict of interest really only exists if you get paid. So, if Raid wants to be the, you know, official landscape company now for Turtle Creek, us as a board, excluding him, would have to have, I think it's 2/3 of what's left, you know, of the board approve it and recognize and call it out in meeting minutes. We understand that there's a conflict of interest from a financial perspective. We accept that because of these reasons, and then you can move forward. And that's very rare.
It's not good practice.
Yeah, no, and I definitely don't, you know, and I don't want to try to, you know, work around the system or, you know, get a temp agency to take somebody on and cover them for workman's comp and that stuff. I mean, no.
Right.
I mean, everything we do in here should be done with arm's length, just from a fact that if something doesn't work, somebody gets injured or something, liability needs to be traced back to external vendor who was vetted. Third party who was vetted for the right insurance levels, the right forms, right everything that we can have on file. So that was the first one we have. The other one was what came up in the last meeting. I sent you all out the draft on that. Was the temporary RV boat trailer parking. I think the only open item from when I scanned it there is, you know, Tom left it open for us to say, okay, you know, you can name the, you know, period that
I
you're
saw
defining.
it as blank and, you know, underlined. I was like,
Yeah, because when I followed up with him, we had a conversation on a few different things. I asked him, I said, okay, you know, you didn't fill anything in here. What exactly do you see? And he's like, you know, most of the time you're looking at about 72 hours because you have to take into account if it's a holiday weekend on something, like July 4th, Labor Day, Memorial Day. You only get, you know, one 72-hour period in a calendar month. You know, so basically 3 days in a month on that.
In a month?
Yeah. To bring your boat in, you know, let's say, clean it, and then you take it back to wherever it's docked.
So what if somebody is visiting from Tennessee, let's say, and they came
They have an
on their
RV.
RV, and they are staying for a week? Do we have the right to get them an exception? of extended stay.
Maybe it needs to say
Was it, I thought there was language in there that an extenuating circumstances.
Okay.
I'll go back and look, but we
Yeah,
can.
with approval maybe of some sort.
It had to be a
The
formal.
boat is okay, 72 hours.
Yeah.
The RV, if somebody is coming visiting me or somebody else,
And
they travel long distance, they can stay 72 hours.
and it does maintain that, it has to be parked inside, in the lot, so it's not in the
Yeah.
middle of the street, it's in the
Right,
driveway.
In the driveway or where, somewhere.
But, yeah, let me look at that. I thought it was in there. I don't have it right in front of me, but,
At least we should have the right to give them
yeah.
some extended
Right,
approval for
exactly.
extension.
If they wanted it, yeah.
Yeah, there's always one-off situations.
So the scope of parking is everywhere in Turtle Creek, correct? Not just streets, it means also their properties, their driveways, the what is it, the community center, like they, nowhere, the whole Turtle Creek would be involved in the no trailer
In this.
parking, correct?
Yeah.
I'm just
Except-
making sure that it's not
Right.
just specifically
It's-
street.
Well,
Keep it
even the
in the-
driveway though,
Keeping
right?
it's somewhere
Somewhere
to put
they
in the
can park.
driveway.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
asking,
Park in the driveway, but he's saying this applies.
I'm asking where is the scope of it? Is it just parking on streets, just parking on driveways,
Driveways.
entire
Right.
Turtle Creek? Because I know some people, if they had the ability to, they'd go park it in front of the swing sets, because
Right,
that's not included. So that's why I just want to make sure that it's
right.
scoped for the entire Turtle Creek of 3 days.
Or whatever that is, yeah, I got you.
Mm. Yeah.
But, I mean, from an overall perspective, I've captured Raid's item here. I'll double check. And if it's not in there, I'll have Tom put it in, and then we can recirculate.
And it's not on the street though, right?
Mhm.
Now, one thing I was thinking is, what if some people can't park their boats or their RVs on their parking? Some people have tunnels or the.
Mhm.
So-
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
they need to figure it
Yeah.
out, right?
So, well, I mean,
You can park it in the front recreation,
just saying, like,
Yeah.
if you really wanted to.
I mean,
In the front recreation area.
Yeah, yeah, maybe we have to designate a space for,
Boat parking.
yeah.
boat parking.
If it comes up with
Oh,
that, I
boy.
mean,
Guess,
Right. What do you think?
it's a one-off.
I'm just saying, I mean,
What do you think?
I wouldn't have the biggest issue with something parking, like an RV for 3 days on the street, but
Well,
That's
on
just
the
because
streets,
it
it's
is
really
limited.
hard.
it is just limited. Yeah.
Street parking.
streets are okay.
Just saying,
Streets are-
an RV or a boat will, yeah.
I personally would say it needs to be in the driveway.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I would not-
Right, I agree.
And that's,
if they can't have it on the driveway, then they can't.
and that's what it does state in here.
Yeah.
Because
Okay, yeah.
It does state in there, it has to be within the driveway. You can park in the driveway, where today, you technically
Yeah.
can't park it in the driveway.
I just
It's
think
not-
it's too
no.
dangerous to have on the street.
No, you
A
can't
big
have an RV parked
RV.
on the side of the street.
Yeah.
Barely
Well-
get through with the cars half the time.
Well, what's the limitations to this as far as, what if someone wants to come in with RV for 2 hours? Are we
Well,
now
it's
saying
okay.
they still can't park on the street even if it's, because I mean, if like it's a guest, for example, and they're only
Well,
there
at
for
2
2 hours,
hours,
are
by
we
the
gonna?
time we
Figure out
applied
what
any
they're
kind of
doing.
restriction.
That's my, yeah,
Right,
so,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It's one of those.
it wouldn't matter
I just,
at that
I'm just
point.
thinking of that big one that's in Water's Edge a
Mhm.
lot. If that thing were on the street, I mean, that would be like really
Yeah.
hard to get around and
Because
see
even when
around.
they, I mean, and then they have
it's
the one
too
guy
big.
who always brings in the big boat, but he does back it in to where he has.
Right.
There's a guy out, yeah.
I just want to, those are the kind of people who are putting the policy in place where I don't think,
Okay.
I haven't really seen too many RVs, everything land on the
Yeah.
street.
Right,
Um,
right.
I've seen a couple like trailers, but that, like a jet ski trailer
Yeah.
or something like that on the street, which is a lot more manageable than,
Yeah.
No, there
Yeah,
were
you can
some
see
RVs.
around it.
yeah,
Yeah.
There were some RVs.
parked on the street.
No,
Yeah.
driveways.
Yeah, in the driveways, yeah, I've seen those, but from a street perspective,
Yeah.
I haven't seen major issues.
But we
Yeah.
should,
Yeah.
we should mention that on the
Mhm.
street, there should be parked in the driveways.
Yeah.
Nowhere else.
The only reason I brought it up was because one of my neighbors used to have a boat, and what I would see them do very commonly was they would pull up their boat because they can't back it up. They're horrible at reversing their trailers.
Right.
And so they would pull it up onto the street, and I mean, it wasn't a huge boat, don't get me wrong, it's not like a
Right.
giant yacht, but, and they would fill up their boat with their supplies from their house. So that's why I was saying that, parking on the street. That's the only reason I was
Well,
bringing it
yeah,
up.
that's
was
a
'cause-
one-off temporary thing.
Parking, that's.
Yeah, well, I mean,
That's
it's,
loading
yeah.
and unloading.
Yeah, it's for a few hours. I'm only defending my neighbors because I know they used to do that a long
Right,
time ago.
right.
So,
And that kind of stuff, I mean, if it
Yeah.
happens, I mean, by the time anything gets done, it's gone.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be over with,
So,
so.
Cool.
Okay, but this is good, we're
yeah, I think we're good the way we are.
pursuing and-
Yeah.
Yeah, but from
So 72 hours though, do we think it needs to be more than that?
I think 72 hours is
Well, what's like a really large holiday? We don't
And
really
then it
have a
would
really
just
large
say
one that would
and then
have an
unless
RV, right?
approved by the ARB, right?
Yeah, that's where anything
Okay,
over
then I'm
72 hours
good.
will come in.
Okay,
If we have
that's
the-
right.
Yeah, 72.
Sometimes they want to stay longer.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and
Yeah.
Christmas.
Somebody can put in a request for, I guess, variation from the.
As long as the requests are in there, I think 72 is fine enough.
Okay.
I mean, that's a weekend with like maybe Memorial Day or something.
Yeah,
like
Right.
like
that.
3 day
Yeah.
weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Well, the holiday could be on a Tuesday or a Thursday.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be the extra day.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be
Cool.
fine. That's
Okay.
good. Thank
All
you,
good.
Mike, for getting
Yeah.
that, doing that.
So I'll go back to Tom, get this, buttoned up, and then I'll formulate the send out, the cover letter, and then because we do have to send this out to the membership 14 days before the next
Mhm.
meeting. So we'll get that in process and get that in the Leland's print shop. And
You might want to ask Tom, I'm just trying to think from a workability, that it says something, rather than example nominally 72 hours, but not to exceed 1 week or something like, just to give it a little flexibility so we're not calling board meetings to,
That's a good point.
All right, yeah, I'll bring it up to him.
just a wiggle room that, an
Do you need
RV
to
go up for a
define
week.
a week?
I mean, Tom.
7 days, whatever, yeah, I'm sure he would have the right language.
But you want enough wiggle room that we're not constantly.
That would be
board
nice,
meetings.
yes.
Yeah, I'd also say like a week would be long. I mean, people could,
For a boat.
Yeah,
it would be
yeah.
a long time.
A boat, an RV, anything like that, yeah.
Right, somebody's driven from the northeast or midwest or whatever,
Yeah.
they're probably staying a week.
Okay. Nope, I will add that to my Tom talking point list. Okay. All right, so we'll get that in motion there. Next up, sidewalk grinding replacement. So we had 5 vendors we sent it out to. Actually, Vice Painting said they wouldn't be able to get it after the extension. They wouldn't be able to get somebody in. They were supposed to be in last week, didn't happen. They were going to get something to us on Friday. I'm like, okay, we can, deal with that, but lo and behold, it showed up today, and that's why I sent out the 3rd version of the board package, because I had to put in the Vice Painting numbers. So we've got, Asphalt 365, H&R Pro Painting, Hunnell Property Services, Precision Sidewalk Safety, and Vice Painting. So if we look at what we're kind of examining here, you see the costs are ranging anywhere from, basically 40,000 to 70,000 almost on the scope of things. Now, if you go over there, you see like total grind areas, and this is where I was having, trying to normalize this stuff, because you have the grind areas, which they're going to just, grind down the concrete, or you're going to have the replacement areas where they're going to take out the whole panel type of thing. Now, within other, there were some places where, the panel is cracked, but they're going to cut the panel like we've done in the past, and then reform, basically save half a panel, so that qualified under or other at that point. And then there were a couple panels that were still good. They just needed fill in them, so they're going to lift them, fill them, and then bring them back to level instead of wasting the
God, this is just so spread out, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it is. And if you're looking at this, Asphalt 365 was our vendor who did the last one, where we did a fair amount of replacement areas and grinding in 2017. They're about 40 grand. H&R Painting, this is the one that threw me. They said that they want to grind 151 spots. They want to replace 207 panels. That's like 4,400 square feet of concrete. And they're saying if we do both of those things, they'll give us a $20,000 discount from $74,000 and give it to us for $53,000, which I'm a little bit.
That's leery.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
And we don't have any experience with them either. Now, I was asking Maria before the meeting, have you dealt with them? And they seem pretty good.
Credible and yeah.
And their references check out. But again, how many times have I called a reference and got a bad report? Like what, 1 out of 1,000, I think. So they're giving you just people who are going to say good things
Well, of course,
about
yeah.
them. But
Well, is there an advantage to replacing versus grinding? I mean, I guess, or disadvantage?
Essentially what you're looking at is if you replace, you're always going to continue. This is an annual with our oak trees. It's an annual process we got to go through. So I may replace, which we did last year. We replaced the panel, and now they need to be ground because after the hurricane, some of the trees flexed and it tilted. Brand new panel. I mean that you're paying anywhere from $350 to $554 to be put in altogether. Now needs a grind, or you could just grind the other. And you get more done. I think for grinding.
How many times you can grind?
Twice. 2 grinds before it has to be replaced.
So how much it would cost, let's say, for one grinding procedure?
$30 a grind. So basically $60 for 2 grinds, 2 seasons, and then you would replace.
A replacement, how much it would cost?
Anywhere between $350 and $600, depending, and we'll see it on the next slide.
Because I was watching the people working on a Hotel Island. They are replacing.
Yeah, they are. They're lifting them
They
up.
just lift
They just tore them out.
Yeah.
4 rounds.
And it's going so fast and clean and new. And when they grind, or when they replace, do they grind the roots?
Yes, there's each one of them called out. They would do root mitigation at if
within the $30 per within the 300.
Yeah, you'll see it in there.
So the 207 on there, well, even the 57 and 31, they all include the root thing. Okay.
Yeah, and the 90 at Vice Painting, because Vice found 90 panels to replace, 305 to grind, 42 grand there. Precision Sidewalk Safety, they have this proprietary, and I think we used them once before a couple of years ago. It looks like head cheese because they have this thing that shaves it versus a spin grind. They found 760 places. Option A was how many sidewalks. Option B was how many aprons, and they were going for basically 1/8 of an inch on what they were looking for.
When you say aprons, what do you mean?
The driveway aprons.
The ones that like mine is lifted.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
The roots picked it all
What
up.
about some of the street drains that are holding water?
Yes, we've got those. Those are on a separate one, but they'll be done at the same time, regardless of who we pick, because there are about 4 spots that need
One right in front of my house.
and there's one over Dawn's house, and then Maggie Clinton's house has it. But that's a separate process because they have to get the lasers to shoot it to understand where the path of best flow is, all that. So that'll be.
Is that a separate bid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be separate from that because they've got to price in stuff that's not part of this. But the concrete and everything, we'll get a discount because whoever we use will have replacements. Except for Precision Sidewalk Safety, they don't do replacements. So anything we saw that needed to be replaced, and there are things that need to be replaced, we would have to get another vendor to come in and do the replacement, which adds complexity.
Okay, that's out. Yeah.
You're the highest price. You have a proprietary program, and you don't do the replacement. I mean, I could work around it better if that price wasn't, so much over and above what we had in the others.
Did you say H&R Painting was going to be about 44,000 square feet?
4,400.
4,400.
Yeah, on 207 panels. That was a rough estimate. 4,400, 4,500.
I just did the math.
Yeah.
It came out to about $7,000 worth of concrete alone.
So here we go. This is how I broke it down. So for total grind areas, listed them all out. Here's the total grind cost. I pulled out of their thing. So how much is there per grind? So you can see Asphalt 365 is about $25 per grind spot. $30 for H&R Painting, $35 for Vice Painting. They're all between $25 and $35, except for Precision Sidewalks, like $90 a hit. Their aprons are almost $150 to touch a piece. That's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, they're out.
Now, when you come to the total replacement areas, you see Asphalt 365 at 57. There's H&Rs at 207, 31 for Honnold, and then Vice at 90. You can see they range from 235 is low. I don't know how you're making money putting in panels and root, mitigation at that point. I don't know on that because the concrete alone is going to be that 235. You're probably making 125. They're probably making $125 on that 350 at Vice Painting, and the rest is material and labor.
How big is each panel? Do you know?
It's like what, 4x6?
4x6.
And we do have some larger ones that are 4x8, where they did like a panel and a half.
And it's called 4x7 on the average, about 4 inches thick, right?
4 inches thick.
So that's a third. That's I can do that pretty quick. It's about $100 a yard for concrete.
Mm-hmm.
I can figure that out pretty quick.
But I mean,
To
me, it just
that's
seems-
telling us so low.
well,
Tells you how crazy we are.
yeah, I mean, it tells me that Asphalt 365 is a little bit, they don't have enough areas to have the, you know, to make it worth their while, so they're basically loading the profit margin, I believe, into there, and that's why they're $25 a grind. H&R Painting, I just don't know how they're gonna do it for that, and I haven't had any experience with them, you know, just seeing their work or anything like that. Honnold, I mean, 368, you know, Honnold and Weiss are probably what I would have expected, that 350, 375, 400. I mean, if you get somebody who's top end who's doing a, you know, a couple one-offs, it's probably $500 a panel. But Honnold had the most. So I called Diane this morning. I said, listen, I'm doing this analysis, and you're like your closest competitor for grinds, you're like 1.5x over them. I mean, you're like 10 times H&R Painting, basically. I mean, okay, what did you really look at? Well, I know she was out for 8.5 hours one day, walking the entire community with a clipboard. I saw her multiple times. She didn't mark up anything because she had, and it's in the package that I have to send you guys. I gotta get the Weiss Painting thing in there, but that's about a 150-page package I got with the write-up and then all the bids and everything. You can go through it in enormous detail. But she documented everything out really well on a spreadsheet, and you know, basically she said you don't have to do all of them, but that basically clears any lips, anything, even to the smallest to an eighth, it'll all be gone at that point. You know?
What we
But
don't
does
need-
that count as a grind though? I mean, even if it's a little, so
Yeah.
would we really want that?
Well, I mean, if you wanted to take, you know, direction of where we've done it before at that eighth level because that's ADA compliant. So we
Okay.
just figured if you're already
Oh, so-
grinding it,
Yeah, what are the standards?
usually eight to 3/8 is the tolerance, and usually the ADA is closer to an eighth. Some communities cut the cost by just having to do a 1/2 inch, which still leaves a trip hazard in my opinion. If you look at the relative pictures of what's an eighth, what's like 3/8, and then like what's a 1/2, there is a marked difference if you're walking. Yeah, you can definitely tell the difference there.
I worry about some of these older people out walking.
Well, like me.
No, like you.
Yes, I'm
Some
worried
people
about
out
tripping
with
too.
walkers walking, I worry about it.
Well, I fell a couple weeks ago over by Jake
I wasn't
Calloway's
worried
house,
about
that
you.
big one that lifted up by Jake
You
Calloway.
are on skateboard maybe.
Oh, no. No, I was actually walking with the vendor from Precision Sidewalk.
Okay.
And you tripped?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
You just wanted to prove your point of view.
I was looking for a sympathy discount, obviously. It didn't come through. But, you know, I mean, while replacement of areas, and I can tell you from the reserve report, they put in there kind of a useful life of all of our concrete and all the rest of that stuff, and they say, you know, here's kind of the replacement rate that you need to, you know, replace your concrete after X amount of years. I mean, we're well, from what we've done the last 3 years, we're well ahead of what the reserve account expected us from a per square foot of concrete replacement. We're ahead of
So
that.
then the H&R may not be that out of line there, or?
Well, I mean, 200 panels, I mean, that's a lot of panels.
I just figured it out, it's about $50 worth of concrete per panel cost.
Is there anybody who can double check those and see if that's reasonable or not?
Well, I mean,
Some
we've
of us
got,
who walk, maybe?
I know well, I mean, I'm just looking at the price on this. I mean, I've went out and I've looked at the, like
so
replacement
you've
areas
got
for
kind of
asphalt.
identified scope.
And
like there's
I already
some-
walked around once, and I figured there was probably anywhere from 25 to 50 panels to replace, because you have actually, you know, just cracking and degraded. It can't be patched any longer. There's just some stuff that, you know, needs to just go. But the rest of the stuff, I mean, is new enough, because I remember, you know, I've got the map where I've said, okay, we replaced this, went back through the records, you know, here's what we've replaced over the last like 5 years. I don't want to keep replacing this stuff. If we're gonna, you know, if you're replacing it, you know, just because it lifted, just get it ground 2 years, and then worry about replacing it at that point.
Well, and there's something to be said for the Asphalt 365, because we've used them before, we know them.
Yeah.
You know, they've done this before.
They did a pretty good job last time, too.
Yeah, I mean, Asphalt 365 and, you know, Vice and Honnold, those are kind of the three that I would say, okay, these would be the ones I would say, okay, this is what we should probably, you know, look at. Precision, I mean, they're out at, you know, looking at, you know, what we have to replace. I gotta go what? Go get Asphalt 365 or go get, you know, another 11 grand on top of that number? Seriously, we should pave the roads. You know? I mean,
exactly.
I wonder if Mike wouldn't have to subcontract some of that. I don't know if he's equipped to handle all of that.
I know that, you know, I don't think they do on there since they've added they've added some people. I know Asphalt 365 would probably have to bring on a subco to help out on that. And Matt at Vice Painting, I don't know, I have to ask him on that, what if he subcos on some of that stuff. I can ask him Thursday. He's at the social. But I can find that. I mean, I can find that out. Because I know Asphalt 365, they had a lot more, you know, replacement work last time. They had to subco some of that stuff out. But if we get back to the, I guess you want to say the nuts and bolts. I mean, you got 40 grand for Asphalt 365. You got, you know, 50. Let's say 52 grand for Honnold, and then you got about 42 for Vice. But if you look at the relative scope, I mean, if we're saying, okay, we're going into this saying, okay, we're going to grind. That's going to be our path forward on this project. That's our, you know, our preferred method. On a price per grind, I mean, I'd rather have them do over 1,000 grinds just get it all done. You know, when you're looking at it, or you'd have Matt. I mean, I think for 42,000, you've got more panels being replaced. You got, what, 33 more panels being replaced than asphalt, and you got, what is it, about 50 or about 40 more grind spots, yet you're only about, what, $2 grand of difference?
Yeah, that's a good deal.
You're picking it up, you know. So it's either, you know, do you look at the 305, and then obviously if we go with the 305, I'm actually going to steal Diane's list and go through and reconcile it to that list. And if we need to make an addition, what's our incremental, if we add stuff to it, what's going to be our incremental grind cost if we got to do a change request? And if there is anything relative to, you know, replacement of aprons, you know, I think when I walked around, there's about 7 aprons that are really in need of just being demoed. I mean, they're like, I don't know how I don't get more complaints from a couple people, because you've got to feel it. It's like a speed bump. Going your grunt with it, you know, thing. Which isn't really, you know, the safest thing either. If you're walking, get your mail, and then you try to come up. But I'm open to discussion. I mean, you know, we have known quantities in asphalt. Honnold's done great work for us in the past before. You know, and Vice with Matt Vice. I mean, they have great reputation, very customer service oriented. You know, I know Matt from CAI. Sitting on the board there. I mean, he's definitely not a fly-by-night operation. So, I mean, he'll stand by whatever work his company does.
That's important.
You know, he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, he certainly doesn't want Turtle Creek upset either, right? Yeah,
yeah, he'll have to listen to me every month then. Go off on him. I mean, for me, you know, I really think that it would come down, and my personal choice either would be Vice or Honnold, just because, you know, what disqualifies asphalt is for $2,100, which if you're already up at 40 grand, let's say, another 2 grand doesn't make that big of a difference. And you're getting another, you know, you're getting 90 panels versus 57 and 305 versus 267. On an incremental basis, his is the best right there, in my opinion, versus like an asphalt. So that would leave these two. It's like you go all in with 51 grand for 1,100 grinds, or, you know, if that is truly the number, or do you say, okay, maybe Matt's number advice is good, should be about 400. What's our incremental cost? We take some of this information, say these are the other ones we want.
So change his scope a little bit and get a price for that. That'd be good. Okay.
And he does have the shortest lead time to start the project too.
That's good.
On that. So I know Asphalt
What do you think?
365 has a lead time, Honnold has a lead time, but Vice would.
I agree with that. I think that's a good approach.
Mhm.
I think we've narrowed it down, and then we're gonna analyze scope, so that there's much more. I think that's fair.
So, I mean, is everybody kind of in a consensus for Vice for this project?
Yeah,
Yep.
really, yeah.
Okay. So, at this point, I'll make the motion for the amount we show here. Once we determine if it's going to be more or less, we'll come back to the next meeting. If we need a change, addendum to this or a change request, we can do that. I just want to make sure we get slotted in then within the
Right.
schedules.
Right,
If the lead
exactly.
time is, we're going to have to start prepping the community with some communication. Hey, starting up in 2 weeks or whatever,
Right.
you're going to notice this. Please turn off your sprinklers for 24 hours if your panel's being replaced, that kind of thing we did last time, so. But, all right, I'll make the motion to accept the RFP response for the sidewalk grind replacement project from Vice Painting in the amount of $42,175.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. So we'll get that going.
Thank you for working all that out.
That's
That
really
was,
good, yeah.
a
Mhm.
lot of work involved in that.
Well, I mean, some of this stuff is just from a numbers perspective. I'm like, okay, something's not, I don't have an apples to apples here. Then if you break it down on this level, it's like, okay, well, if it's too good to be true, and I don't know how H&R Pro said, okay, if you just do the grinding, if you do them separate or something like that, it's 74 grand, but if you do them both together at the same time or something like that, we'll give you a 20 grand discount.
All right.
I mean, I've heard of discounts, but seriously.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the other item, I didn't have it on new business, but we wanted to talk over the status on that exit gate sign. So, Lou, I know you and I threw some text back and forth. I don't know if you had an update on what you found from, was it Dectronics or?
Yeah, Dectronics had one, actually, it's a 3 by 4 feet, way too big.
Okay.
And that's a 10 millimeter. I don't know where this guy is getting one so small. An 18 millimeter is just,
And what's the board at currently? Like out there right now,
I forgot to measure the damn thing, but it can't be much more than 24 by 36 at the most.
Yeah, somewhere around
At
there.
the
yeah.
most.
I think we're going to be constrained.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
you got a width problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that side.
So I'm not sure where this other guy got one so tiny. It's outdoor.
Right.
Indoor, it's a piece of cake. You find them all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But outdoor is an issue.
Now, let's see, it probably wouldn't make a difference if you had an indoor and then had a case around it. It's still going to have the humidity penetrating and all the degradation effect and whatnot.
Yeah, outdoor. Yeah, we got to make sure it's outdoor. The sun's gonna beat down on that thing.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have anybody else we can go to, in your opinion, that is reliable? I could probably get one on eBay that ships from China.
That's the problem. That's exactly the problem.
Quality, though, quality.
Some of these companies like Optech
Mm-hmm.
and there's another one out there. All this stuff is built in China.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need a replacement part,
God help you.
I feel the pain every day when I got to
Oh,
deal
yeah.
with China.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the advantage.
Well,
to
and it's just weeks, right?
Weeks.
That's it, yeah.
Could be months.
Okay.
The
So.
only other way to do that, you typically, when I sell one to a customer,
Mhm.
I recommend that they buy 2 or 3 spare modules
Okay.
because they're the part that usually go bad.
Okay.
That are hard to get.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay, well, is that expensive, or?
they're anywhere from $500 to $900 a piece. You get 2 of them, 3 of them,
Mm-hmm.
but you never have to worry after that. pretty much.
Right.
So, okay. I guess in terms of where we go from here, I'll circle back with Lincoln to see if what he's found, because he was the one who came with the architect or whatever. If you find something, if you keep searching around, you find anything, let's set a date, make a decision one way or another.
Watchfire, that's the other one.
Watchfire?
Watchfire is another one. But both of those are, everything's made in China.
Right.
Unfortunately, Daktronics is the only company that builds stuff here in the U.S.
Yeah, I'm gonna check with a company I think I know as well that did signage, LED signage. They're over in Claremont, so I'll give them a call. I worked with them years and years and years ago, but I don't even know if they're still in business.
Well,
I might as well.
If it's a sign, they don't make the signs, they're a sign company.
Well, they do. They actually manufacture LED panels. So
They do.
something like for McDonald's, all that, like those like actual commercial use stuff. So,
I mean,
but I
Don
don't.
Bell does some of that stuff, but his prices are just scary.
Yeah, no. I'll look into them. I don't even know if they're still in business or they're still there. So I'll just
But
give
you're
it a try.
saying the issue with getting it from China is just the replacement parts?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
servicing it. Yeah.
So if we buy two,
We're probably good for quite a number of years. And a spare controller. There's a bunch of spare parts you need to get along with it. That's what I do with all my customers.
And by that time, in those 10 years or something, you never know. They might have new technology anyway. So.
So, there's a school down in Miami that bought this big board. All the parts came from China. Everything goes right to left, bottom to top, instead of the way we do it. It's everything, it's all the date is all messed up, and they can't get the replacement modules. It was a $325,000
Yeah.
order, and it's sitting there dead,
Yep.
2 years old.
I'm sure they don't have a return policy to get a refund.
So, why don't we do this as a path forward? Lou, if you can keep checking around on your end, see what you
I'll
can
make a
find.
couple other calls, I'll call my buddy over New Smyrna.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick, if you can look in that company.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Lincoln at PC Geeks. And by May, we either have a defined path to move forward with an LED sign, or we cut bait and we get a replacement for the other one. And I'll quote the replacement, it's like probably $900.
Yeah, it's cheap.
For that one.
It's just a pain.
I know.
Yeah,
And,
We tried, if we
Yeah.
can't, right, so.
mhm.
And there is power there, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe
We
they
have
rent power
power there, so.
Good. That's better, that's better.
Yep. So, I mean, everything is like roughed in, it's like ready. It's just trying to find something that is
That
feasible
fits.
and fit there,
Yeah.
so. Okay, new business. This is one of the items that, whoops, that's not, stupid mouse. This is one of the things that Brighton sent over. I got it earlier today. We've gotten some pretty good positive feedback from the plantings we did on that south wall, how it's coming in with those trees and the protocarpus. So I said, what would be the odds we could, do something, by like the inside of the walls facing Apopka Island? Because we really don't have enough real estate to kind of plant, Nick, to your point, when you had asked me, could you have
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah,
down
in
the
the front.
wall, kind of
yeah.
like they do at Parkside. Parkside has so much greenage and frontage.
so
and you can
much,
put up- There's just not enough real estate there to make it, get irrigation in and make it,
Yeah, because I was noticing the sidewalk comes pretty close to us, right?
yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
right up close, only a foot
Yeah.
and a half.
Yeah.
So these are just the same trees that they have, the tabulia or whatever they are called. Thank you. They come in yellow and purple. I mean, it was just an option.
That looks nice.
Now,
If they only bloom once a year and then the blooms fall all over the place
yeah.
and make a humongous mess, and then the rest of the year they're no blooms.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
could landscaping deal with it? I mean, they can just mulch it. Yeah, we'll just let them
But-
just mulch it.
it's just
Is
an idea.
that the one that's kind of by Maggie's house, next door to Maggie's, that, all those purple flowers were all over the ground?
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
Is
yeah, I
that that
think so.
same tree that, like, kind of by you, right?
Yeah.
It
it's on
was a
Boca.
hot mess for quite a few
That's what
days,
happened.
yeah.
Well, when
But
it's
they're
over a sidewalk,
beautiful.
yeah, when it's over
Yeah.
a sidewalk, you notice it. But
Yeah,
if
that's
it's like
true.
in the middle of there, I don't even think it'll.
I mean, so this is
It's
from
not going to bother anyone.
This is from the front pond area, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
It's
if we
really
planted
pretty.
something in there, you'd be able to at least get a visual if you're on Apopka Island driving. It doesn't have to be these, just trying to frame up, from a design direction perspective. I think it enhances kind of a barren thing right there. I mean, if you
I
look
do
back there,
too.
you just see wall, and if you did something similar on the other side, you'd have this continuity that would run the length between that and then the lights that we have on the outside pillars. I think you'd have,
Be pretty.
something attractive in both, but, this is, to Brightview, this is easy for one, because we have irrigation, we have all the electricity, we have all the hookups there.
Oh,
So this is
good.
not a major problem to retrofit and put it in, whatever we choose, doesn't have to be these, I don't,
Yeah, bottle brush might be a good option too, because they
Yeah.
bloom most of the year.
is that the ones with the red? The
Yes,
red ones?
yes,
Okay. I mean, that could be an option too, we'll put it on there, but from an overall idea, if, you know.
I know, I like that.
I think it's really nice.
If we're
yeah.
spitballing, is this something, we should probably, try to look at them, giving us some more designs and kind of moving forward and try to throw it out there and see, because, these weren't the most high-res ones, because I got them on a text.
Yeah.
So I told him,
Right.
I'll let you know what the board says, and if we want to move forward, have Tim Harris send us some stuff.
Let's move forward, let's.
Is this going to be only a visual benefit, or is anyone actually able to walk to that lake or around that lake? I know they have it fenced off on the main street, but do any of the
If
Avalon?
you just pull the fence, it comes apart. No, I mean, it's a visual effect, there's really, now, if you put it on the other, if you had something matching, whatever you choose on the other side, you could have kind of a continuity.
Right,
Oh,
and that you
of
could walk
look,
to, you
yeah.
could benefit.
Well, by the tennis courts area, right?
What was that?
I've heard it's snaky
Back there?
around that pond.
Oh, is
Oh.
I used to
it?
walk it all the time.
Yeah.
And then somebody who lives on that pond said to me, you know that place is full of snakes, don't you?
I mean, no one bothers them there. I mean,
I can tell you that the full of snakes is
Well,
the water's
but
edge
they're
one where that alcohol
landscaping.
unit is.
They're gonna go the other way.
God, there's water moccasins all the time over there. But
They're not black snakes, I'm not taking it.
yeah.
so what I'll do is I'll tell them to move forward, give us some more options.
Yeah,
take a look
definitely move
at.
forward, and I think the other side too,
Mhm.
that would be very nice.
So I'll have them frame it up and we can take a look at it.
You know,
Is it a native tree this one?
Sue?
Native, like it's Florida native?
Tallahassee, I'm not sure if it's native Floridian or not.
We should try to
But I think
plant
bottle
native
brush-
trees.
Is bottle brush? I mean,
But bottle brush would be Florida friendly
What was
too.
that?
I think their trunk tends to spread, right, the bottle brush?
What does?
Their trunks tend to spread a little bit.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I threw it on the list,
I'd have
I'll
to
ask
look
him.
at
Yeah,
See
we
what
definitely
they-
don't want something that's gonna mess up the wall, we've been down that road.
well, I mean, I don't think we'd even put it that close to the wall, would we?
Agreed.
Maybe a
No.
few feet away from it. Yeah.
It's not like an
Well,
oak
we just
tree.
went to that,
Yeah,
through
yeah,
that,
no.
right, so I just
Yeah.
don't wanna be there again, right?
Yeah, so,
The only thing is, it would be a shame if we make it look all nice, because when I was walking down the exit road,
mhm,
there's those really thick, dense bushes that are covering that whole area.
yeah.
And I actually only recently, because I was driving really, really slowly, noticed that there was a fountain in that lake.
Oh.
So,
Yeah,
so would we ever maybe be able to consider maybe opening that up so people have the view of?
We
that
really
lake?
left it like that for privacy because you have the homes that.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah,
homes that
so,
back to that,
yeah,
it's a nice view for
That's
them.
pretty much why that's.
They would
that's-
appreciate that, I
Yeah.
think. It's
I'm
just
sure they would, I
nice,
mean, it's a
yes.
nice visual to
I
cap
think
off
so
with the
too.
fountain and
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
so. But
Good idea.
I'll have them run some different stuff and we'll pass it around with the ARB, can get it, and let's all weigh in and see what we think and
Yep.
put them to work and see what we can get out of it.
Yep.
Let's see, recreation improvements, okay. Let's see,
It needs
Oh,
it up
that was
there,
an old
doesn't
one.
it?
that was an old slide pad. The sunshade and seating, all right, so there's a couple different ways to break this down. So a common complaint or a common suggestion that I've also heard is, there's not enough shaded seating up there.
That's correct.
In the
Yeah.
park area. Now, we relocated that one table, it used to be had the pines and neglected, we moved it over by the tennis court area. To me, that is, prime for a sunshade to go there, to just,
Yep.
give it the what it needs. And then if you look at different options, like something like this, or something like, that bench by the basketball court, you need something over that. That thing
For
gets
sure,
hot as
yes,
hell
for sure,
over
yes.
there. And then
Both of
potentially-
them do.
Yeah.
Both- Yeah.
and maybe put another one over there with, get some sunshades, deploy them strategically, obviously, so it's not, out of control. But I think it's an opportunity then for us to, maybe, there's like the bench we have today, and then there's a potential, that, or even something like that, where you have a half circle where people can
That's kinda
sit
cool.
with a sunshade over it. Now, these are called a tornado sunshade. These are kind of looking for something that's just not a shade, it may serve a function
more
100%.
abstract.
But it's not really, how can we say, design appeal. This, to me, is like a signature element. I mean, you want driving in, you want to be able to showcase the
Say,
rec
wow,
area.
this is
you know,
really- yeah.
you know, you want your attention drawn there first, and you need something to pop, and something with a visual effect like that. To me, like this right here, you know, would be, you know, it's modern, it's fresh.
Yeah, I think a modern look would be nice.
You know, instead of, oh, here's an umbrella, you know.
Yeah.
But something like that, or something like with that half, you know, half circle, different things like that is something we probably want to look at, you know, to increase it and strategically put it there, to provide some seating, you know, even provide maybe a table in the middle there where people can bring, you know, more than 2 people for a family and have lunch there or something, versus, you know, there's really no place to sit and eat, and, you know, if you have more than 1 or 2 people with you, there's really no good spot. So, that's some of the stuff I just pulled off. I was looking at when I was, you know, bored out of my mind in Dallas with work. So, you know, so that would be a sub-project called Sunshade and Seating. You know, so we'd have, like I said, an overall program for the recreation area, and then you'd have underneath it a sub-project for the seating and the sunshade. The next one will be the sports courts. So we've got tennis, basketball, and the litter box, the volleyball. So let's just take the easiest ones. If you look in the far corner there, the basketball, we resurfaced it. Surfaces handle it well.
Looks nice.
I mean, it's held up well for after that resurface. Even the tennis court resurface, they did a very good job of it. I mean, there's been no issue with that. It's probably time to get new backboards, and you know, to replace those out. I know there is.
And they are used.
Yeah, and there is a slight bend on one of the anchors on, you know, the one closest to the playground. That's going to need a new arm. So we'll probably, you know, do it at that time there. But I was also looking at, if you noticed here, instead of just having a pole, these are, you know, you can get these and have, you know, like one says turtle and one says creek.
Oh, yeah.
And have them in green, and then you can brand it, and it's, you know, so if you slam into it, it doesn't kill you, for one.
Right,
You know,
right.
and-
Yeah,
and
it's padding. Yeah,
and
gotcha.
the padding piece of it, but it also kind of, you know,
Just
creates it, you know, applies the branding, you know, it's a little touch that you don't often see, but could be, you know, and those are weather resistant. The ones from this company are made for outdoors. They have a 15-year no fade, no tear guarantee, warranty on them. They've been in business for about 35 years.
Wow.
So they're out of, outside of Macon, Georgia. So that's what it, you know, potential for the basketball court.
I've installed a bunch of those over the years, they work great.
Yeah, I've ran into a few over the years, and they do work there. The other one is in the tennis courts. You know, we'll look at doing the fence, you know, because it is time to start looking at replacement of the fence, that tornado fencing that goes around there. It is, you know, and we have reserved for it. It's end of useful life. But the other feedback that I've gotten from, you know, people who are playing tennis, and they get used a bunch up there, the tennis court, is, you know, there's really no place to sit in there, like with this little, you know, country club type thing to sit, or that,
that's
or,
nice.
you know, even like that modern, you see that modern kind of like,
I like the modern.
yeah. And if you're going modern with the other sunshade, you have to keep that same theme throughout the whole.
Right.
But that's something I think we could do. You put one on the 2 open spots, you need 2 of
Which
them.
one easier to maintain?
Right.
You're probably looking at that one, the modern one.
Yeah.
Is easier to maintain on that one.
I wonder how long, I mean, the cloth being in I mean, it's some sort of cloth, isn't it?
No, it's some umbrella.
Oh, is
It
it?
would
Yeah, it's
be
like
the
a
same
sunshade.
as the,
Yeah,
I'm sure
How long would
it's
it
the
be
same as
before it
the-
would fade?
It lasts about 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's what like Dr. Phillips Park, you see those
Yep.
sunshades
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
They have a
yep.
10-year warranty from their vendor
Yep.
on it when I was
Okay.
talking to them.
Yep.
And they've had no issues with it in
Oh,
terms
cool.
of fading or any kind of tearing, even after the hurricane or anything on that.
I was about to say
Are they
hurricanes.
more expensive?
Hurricanes
than
do their damage.
Some umbrella is very expensive.
Huh?
They're not cheap.
Yeah. Some umbrella itself's very expensive.
Yeah.
I haven't got a price on the
Price.
modern one, but I know these, you know, these little huts here. I mean, this one I think here was like $3,000, and this was like 1,900 or 2,000. You know, so we'll keep.
I mean, the
digging, but-
regular ones don't offend me either. I mean, the classic, you know, that's a
It has a
traditional,
classic
classic
look.
look
Yeah,
that's our
But-
neighborhood,
so if
right?
we're going to do, you know, we're looking for, you know, everything that.
I was thinking about low maintenance because we don't want to, like every year, change the
I
No.
don't think you'll have.
Well, and I think for the contemporary, we need to figure out how many we're gonna have,
Yeah.
because we don't wanna look like a theme park either, and those are very trendy in the theme parks, right, so. This one,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
and I
yeah.
mean, we'll look at both of them, and we'll
Yeah.
get, Nick, maybe you can help me, like, if I take some pictures, you can Photoshop. I'm not a Photoshop person, you know, put some stuff in there.
Yeah.
Just so we can have a basic visual. If I can get a vendor to do it, I will, but I mean, in the interim, if we pull it out, you know, and do it ourselves a little bit. But I know all these, you know, sunshade and everything, these are low maintenance. I mean, talking to the guy at the Dr. Phillips Park, they said they power wash it like once a year when they do
Right.
their sidewalks, and that's it.
Yeah.
They don't touch them again.
I was just gonna say, once a year, you take a broom and a little bit of soap to them, and you're done.
Yeah, there's no adjustment. Once they're up, they're up. There's no tweaking. It's just basic, once a year, clean, boom, done. So,
Yeah, and this umbrella, there's no mold or anything
Yeah.
like that.
and if, you know, we do the walls and the sidewalk, you know, pressure washing on a consistent
Yeah,
basis.
pressure washing, yeah.
I mean, that would just fit right in the scope, just gotta do it at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, they do the sports courts at the same time, just
Mhm.
do that. The final picture here is one I took on my field trip to Dallas at the hotel at the Courtyard at Dallas Fort Worth North. So when you drive up to it, you know, it's a courtyard, wow. But they have a putting green there, synthetic putting green. And, you know, the crown of it here is just grass. But, you know, basically you have 5 holes. It's a real eye catcher.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, people are out there, they have, you can bring your own putter, since there's a lot of golfers that were there. But this is the kind of thing that I think we should look at having as a signature element for that front, where you could blow out the what's it called, volleyball court, put something like that in there with some seating, with another sunshine. I mean, now you've changed the entire, I guess, look and feel of that into something a lot more modern, upscale. You know, people are going to say, you know, oh wow, that, you know, they have a putting green in their place. Nobody says they have a volleyball court. So, I mean,
the volleyball court was fun while it lasted, but it's time to change it.
Yeah, but
you know,
it went out of style with Beverly Hills 90210 when that went off the air. No more.
It was a neat idea.
It was, yes.
For practical purposes, I think a putting green.
I think, yes, exactly.
Well, when you think of Florida, you think
Yeah.
of golf, you know?
Now, the other good thing in terms of cost, when we first looked at this, for any kind of synthetic, you've got to have a concrete, you know, cement base. Underneath the sand, there's already cement under there for some reason. It was like there was a different court there at some point. I've never found out what, but
I don't remember.
but I don't know if they wanted it to be something, and then we just said, forget it, just throw some sand in here and be done with this. But there is already a base there that they can build off of, which saves about 14 grand right off the top.
Oh, okay, wow, yeah.
Now, obviously, you got to excavate the sand out and all the rest of that, but, you know.
But we have that maintenance anyway.
Yeah.
Right, so that's.
You have to do that, I mean, because I'm around all these turf fields, you know, in football, no concrete, ain't that at all, it's all just packed down coquina.
Yeah.
You know, they just pack it, it's as hard as concrete though.
So,
And they put the stuff right on
Well, and
top.
I was just reading about it for my yard, because I'm so tired of my yard, and they actually make some now where they have it's almost like a light irrigation underneath to keep it cooler,
okay.
right? And then that helps.
So you install it at yours, and then we can, you know, take a look at it.
Test it out.
Steel pieces of
I
it.
haven't really, you know, it was just initial research, you know, but
Yeah.
that was one of the issues that they had with it, was that, you know, and it's not as controversy anymore either,
Right.
right? It's more
It's more accepted.
user-friendly, environmentally friendly. So.
We just have to make sure that it stays clean, because it can really quickly turn the wrong image if it's full of, you know, like leaves. And
Yeah.
are there any trees near there that like drop
No.
a lot of? No, right?
No,
I can't think of any
because we need
the
a
magnolias are down there, right?
Well, there's that
Yeah.
one oak tree, but I
Yeah,
don't
but
even know how close that is.
That is, I mean,
Nothing, right?
if you put it in the right spot, because it won't be as big as the volleyball court, you would, you know, carve it up and have putting green and then some kind of seating area with maybe a shade over it, something,
Yeah.
you know, to make it just a little hub. There's really nothing there,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, the only thing
They call it a dog park.
we looked at that liability. Right, Mike, didn't we look at that at one point?
I think we.
Yeah, that was, because somebody brought that up before, and we,
Yeah.
sorry, dog.
Behind that
Is that what
putting
you
green, we could definitely put a seating area with more of those.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's one thing is, I know my family used to love going there just to sit down and actually just, because they're walking so much around the community, that's their stopping point.
Yeah.
But since there was at the time one bench, is the gazebo gone yet? I think the gazebo
That's
is
been
gone.
years. I think.
Yeah, it's been, it tells you how much I go there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So because there's such lack of seating, people just don't go there anymore. So, at least
Yeah.
my family doesn't. So.
And I've heard that before with other people who bring up kids, and they might have a couple kids or invite a friend over. I mean, there's literally no good spot to
Yeah.
sit, and
We need to
so
focus on
that
it.
that's I'll run the trap lines and figure out what we can do in terms of pricing. Let's price this out at maybe a non-starter for total project cost. But you know what? I think at this point
It's worth doing.
let's just. I mean,
But we still have to figure out something with the volleyball court if it's not that.
in and of
Something
itself,
has to
the
change.
volleyball court is an endangered species. Let's put it that way. Yeah, it's
Sand is very dirty.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not very clean.
It's like playing in the volleyball court.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm up there a lot with all the kids. I haven't seen them in there, but it's busy up there. The kids are up there playing on that swing
At 5
set.
o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh yes,
the kids
it
are
is
all over
crazy
that.
up there.
And you have the kids that
Yeah,
bring
it's
the
nice
sand
to
from the
see.
volleyball court onto the basketball court, which is always a good visual.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that would be one sub-project, would be sports courts. Speaking of our kids, children's play area. So currently, let's start over here. The bike rack, we need something a little bit better than the big dented bike rack in there. I think a branch fell on that at some point, and dented the heck out of it. I mean, so you get something, we can have a dedicated little space, so you can park your bike up there, something like this, or something cool, instead of just, a throwback to 1987 elementary school bike rack like we have now. Now, previously, it broke. We used to have a turtle up there. So it's kind of a nice little branding element, one of the little rocker turtles, like this guy in the bottom.
Yeah.
Maybe we should bring him back. I mean, the Art Turtle Creek, something like that. I mean,
that's
even this little dude here, you can climb on, but he's a turtle. It kind of dials into the
Yeah.
brand on the kids' level.
Actually, the community I visited when I was on vacation, and their community mascot, I guess, in the way was crane birds, and they had these statues, basically like what is it, copper? I think it's copper. But they were just these statues, and they had them at their front entrance, but they were just beautiful. They were just like pieces of art, but they really added on to the community. So, I think if we could, it'd be nice to add in.
We have the open spot right there where the other one used to be. Which brings us to swings. Right now, you just have the swings, basically the top swings. They're, I think we need regular adult person, regular person. I don't know how to phrase that without getting in trouble.
Adult
Kid swings. Yeah, like down there. Now, we'll have to do some reconfiguration of things up there a bit, and we may, if we put in the turtle, can we open it, the back side of the top lot and open it that way for, like the kids area, and then have the big kid swings over on the other side, because you would be amazed at the amount of permitting and regulation around putting in just even 2 swings like this one on the bottom.
Insurance also will do.
Well,
You gotta have that soft covering.
yeah, because we have that wood chip stuff we get, the special wood chip.
Or
I'm not a fan of that. I'd rather
rubber
Can we change?
that
What happened
mulch,
is the self.
recycled tire stuff that they have,
rubber mulch.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, it'll be a hell of a lot less, because it's like $1,500 a year to re-mulch that place with that
remulch.
ADA mulch stuff.
Right.
Yeah, because it has to be a certain thickness, and it's got the sponginess to it, but I mean, it's a special order for Brightview. We can look at that, something like a recycled tire thing, or whatever that stuff is.
Yeah, it's like rubber mulch, right?
Make sure if it's like a recycled tire that it's not out in the sun, because it gets really hot and it'll burn.
Yeah, that's the only bad thing about those things. Yeah, they do get
It
hot.
does get very hot.
Okay. Well, I'll pull that too.
Well, that's when we
Look at-
put in the water spouts.
Oh, yeah. Let's pick up that park and put them on,
Let's hope kids aren't playing during that.
But there's a lot of shade right now in that area.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's
It's
a
And
very
there
shaded.
usually is.
Well, over in the area where the pine trees are, you've got some shady area where you could add, just like that.
And even if we go with that rubber idea, there's those playgrounds. They'll do the 3 poles with the tri-net over it,
But I got so
create
so many
shade.
trees there. I don't know if it'd be
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
because we've got that
Yeah.
whole
That's really
Yeah.
shaded right there.
Yeah.
It's actually too shaded.
yeah, and it looks so much better now that we got it cut. You can actually
It's
see
a
that
lot
there's
better.
something back there. But
Yeah.
let me make a note to pull that on the rubberized ground or whatever it is, and then I mean that's what we'd be looking at as a sub project then as a tot lot children's play area because there is a reserve account just for that. It's still left over
Well,
as
and that's
legacy.
really used.
Yeah.
Right, that's something.
And it'd probably get used more if we have a little more seating, a couple improvements. You're probably going to have a spike in usage across the board, you know, on that. And then the other one from Green Initiatives, I threw in there since I'm Mr. Environmental. I'm thinking, okay, if we're doing this, why can't we put in, you know, like a universal charger, like one or two, or a Tesla and like this GE one.
Are they different?
The
Tesla than GE?
This one is the one that would fit like your Chevy Bolt and your Nissan Leaf because they use the same. I think Tesla has its own. You
They
have
have
to
a
have
different,
a. You would have to have a
charger.
connector on the end of that to fit into a normal. I mean something. They
Some
made
sort
it
of
different. Let's put
adapter
it
or
that.
something.
Yeah, it's all adapters. Yeah, they're all
How they
different.
do in the hotels where they have special charging stations.
I know Wawa gets a lot of business on theirs. Have you seen the Royal
Yeah,
Tesla ones?
yeah. But
Yeah.
what do they use? Do they use Tesla or do
They usually have one of each, so
Oh,
they can
okay.
cover the whole thing, the whole gamut.
Okay.
So if you
it's-
if you put this in, you know, this would be a pay to charge. I was counseled by our lawyer that we can't just have it for anyone because that would be a unfair distribution of HOA funds if we pay for electricity
Yeah,
for
yeah.
people who have EVs who don't. So it would be a pay per charge, much like you would get at the Wawa. So-
Wawa pay per charge.
Yeah.
The only thing that comes to this, because I've done my research on electric cars as well, is a lot of people use these like gas pumps, whereas when they are in the community, most people charge at home.
That's what
So,
I was thinking. Do
If we give them these stations, they will park their cars overnight at these stations instead of charging at their property.
But they're
So-
paying for it.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes it's like they have two options now when they could charge at home. Usually these are just gas pumps.
Typically, these are the high rate chargers versus the ones at home.
Yeah.
That take all night.
Yeah, these are the rapid chargers you know,
Yeah.
on these.
So-
But I mean, we charge per kilowatts or
Yeah, it's
whatever?
kilowatt hours, yeah.
Kilowatt per hour,
Well,
or
you're
it's
swiping a
a
credit
time?
card. You know, you're swiping a credit card and you're on there for 15 minutes. It calculates your dollar per kilowatt, I'm assuming,
Yep.
or whatever the charge is, and then that's what gets billed to you. Or-
Yeah.
But now we have to process credit cards.
No, that goes through
It goes through
them.
there.
Oh,
That's
it
all
goes
built
through,
in.
okay, okay,
Yep.
And we get a portion of it. We get a
Yep.
slice of it.
I see.
Yeah.
Because they'll subsidize the construction cost,
Yeah.
putting it in the machine, and we get a portion of it, but they get the other piece of the revenue.
I only noticed one Tesla in the neighborhood though.
Yeah,
we've
I've seen
got-
I've seen a lot of
we've got
visitors.
four.
Yeah.
We got 4.
What for?
Yeah.
I put
do
that
the
down payment
details,
for a
so-
Tesla free.
I know.
I just kind of
The-
like to see where we envision seeing this, because I don't know
Yeah.
that, you know,
They told
it's
me
like a
end
gas
of
pump, right? And so,
2018.
I kind of want it somewhere.
We have to look at how much cost and benefit will be for us, because
Yeah.
the only benefit as a, let's say you were a Tesla owner, the only benefit you're gonna receive is faster charging. Oh shit, I forgot to charge last night. But most of these people, when they have Teslas, they buy their chargers.
Yeah.
They buy them for their garages. So, like I said, the one benefit it would be is either for guests that are coming into the community, I need to
Plus
charge.
it's a brand building.
Yeah, it's a brand.
Yeah.
It's brand, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, and I had, Bright Electric when they were out again, for the thing, they looked at it, they said, yeah, you can do it in the rec area.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have any constraints like some neighborhoods who put them in.
Yeah.
They've had to go through a complete,
Yeah.
tearing up stuff and everything. It's like, you're close enough to where your power, we can hook into it with minimal disturbance to the, the asphalt or anything else where you want it.
Yeah.
It takes big power to run these though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lot of
Oh
power.
yeah.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
They have to come. Don't they have to come and build like their own
The
little
base.
station
Yeah,
there?
you
Yeah,
gotta
to make
put
sure
the
it's.
pad down, you put everything down, you put.
So,
As long as the
Well,
price
it's
would be
worth
reasonable,
investigating
then
Yeah.
and seeing,
Yeah.
yeah,
so, I mean, it's something to look at, something that is differentiator. I mean, and if it doesn't make sense, then.
And you're
we
right,
do
it sets, it's something that would set us apart.
Now, when we get to the gatehouse rework, I wouldn't mind looking at like one of those Tesla power packs that you could draw, you can put them in, the power box that they have, to help get them a little bit more, I guess you want to say green sustainable, because you have the option then
the
to
power
upgrade
walls?
at that point to that. So, but that's the slides for next one.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Okay, well, that's something
Yeah.
certainly
We'll
to
look at it.
investigate.
Like everything
think
else,
about. It
it's
is
just
kind of a hot-
spitballing at this
yeah.
point. We'll look at it. If it makes sense, great. We'll deep dive it. If it's a non-starter, we just kill it. It's no loss.
Yeah, and also most of these electric cars, they come with a bunch of adapters when you buy the car. So, like, I think even the Chevy Bolt was now doing it, that you can easily buy a adapter for Tesla, or vice versa. Tesla gives you some of the standard,
so they can fit. Who knows? Well,
so we can basically put any of them that we want, really.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it then. So.
I would think that would have to start being standardized.
That's going to be a picky thing. Porsche is saying it now too, that they're going to do their own version of it at their. It's like
what else?
It's going to become a. It's like, oh no, you can't use ours.
Plugs can we have?
You're going to have like 50 adapters. Like, oh, which one is it for this one?
Just like we have now.
Yeah, it's not going to be too easy.
So
it'll change though.
That wrapped up the new business. I'll open it to the board really quick. Is there anything that we needed to?
I just want to thank you for that, all the ideas, thinking out of the box. It was really good.
Yeah. We're moving forward.
It's meant to be a thought starter, so let's see what we can do to kind of jazz things up and kind of really take advantage of that front area and make it into a real showpiece that's fun for everybody who lives here, as well as supports the brand statement we want to make. So, if there's nothing else, I'll open it up to our homeowners who stuck around for the whole thing. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I just want to thank you for Holte for getting that done.
Yes.
So we really appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. And hopefully have the drawings by the end of the week, and I'll be sending that out, and then getting it up onto the website so everybody can see what they're looking at, what kind of options are available, and then I figure maybe we'll have to have a town hall just for everybody on the wall, just to kind of, I want to capture everybody's ideas one more time. Now that you've seen this, what are your thoughts? And let me, kind of recalibrate what I go back to them with and say, okay, now how do we work through this type of thing? So.
I do work hard, so thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes, thank you, Mike.
I do have one more thing to ask about. I know that it's not supposed to be broadcasted, but I do have questions about that one house at the end of the 10959 on Chase Providence House.
Oh, you mean Boys Town for Girls?
Yeah.
So that's what I call it. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter at this point. We've already been down this road. I'll fill you in. I know Angelo Pravetti reached out to me, and I gave him the update, and I'll share it with you. Probably about a month ago, we found out that there's I guess you want to call it a halfway home or rehab center for young girls, like teenage girls, being run out of that house in Emerald Chase, or in Water's Edge on Emerald Chase. Obviously, that's not exactly what we want for any home in there. I mean, it's a business. It's something that, at least this is on my own personal view, with all the Orlando human trafficking thing, I could see where it could take a very bad turn very quickly. And the stigmatism that comes with it. So, as soon as we found out, we reached out to our attorney. We opened a complaint with Orange County to start there to see if the county could, shut it down as quick as possible. I guess from the complaint that Orange County, they investigated, I guess the people who own it have a license to, I guess, do that. So the county really isn't much support there. So our next step is we're going to be working through getting some kind of legal filing put together within the next week to get processed into court, because, there's multiple different things that this violates. This is not zoned. I mean, Turtle Creek is not zoned for this type of thing, first. Second off, we have specific rules in our covenants. You're running a for-profit business, which we called out like an Airbnb. We called out this specifically in a direct policy a year and a half ago. You can't run it, even says in the declaration, because of the increased traffic that it's bringing. And in there, we're also.
And it is bringing traffic.
It is. I monitor that. I get the reports. On all that. So we got the details. And then the other thing is from And overall, I think there's some government stuff from a Fair Housing Act too that, we're going to be looking into, and potential other state license type of activities. So it is number one priority right now. I'm going to speak for the board, but feel free to disagree. But I mean, when we first heard about it, we're all just like shocked, going, "This is ridiculous. This is not acceptable."
Since August. We've been thinking, wow, there's all kinds of things that used to happen down there anyway, and then all of a sudden.
Because it used to, when I first got the report on it, I'm thinking, okay, we've had an Airbnb problem.
They couldn't they were trying to get into the house, and there was like 12, I don't know, there was 10 women, and they were all in T-shirts.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on? And they got into the house,
It's kind of creepy.
Every
time I walk by there, I'm seeing.
It's that black van, the Sprinter van.
Yeah, and there's another car, and they're dropping somebody off, and then.
Yeah, I mean, now,
it's not good.
We did have an Airbnb problem there before, and that's what I really honestly thought it was again.
Yeah.
But that's not the case on this one, so.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, just know I'm in contact weekly with our attorney to kind of.
It was so hard to get that.
Unfortunately,
you would think it would be easy.
You would think it would be easy, but unfortunately, when now that we're going to have to enter a litigation path of some kind, it's going to, obviously you're looking at court dates, you're looking at deposition, they're probably going to offer mediation, and you got to go through all these things that are predefined and out of our control.
And this homeowner tends to take it all the way to the very end, right? And then pulls out, right? They just always do that. Right?
Well, he's going to keep making as much money as possible.
Yeah.
Right to the stop.
Yeah.
And then
probably
his dues too, right?
Yeah.
Right before we're ready. So
that's what we did.
All,
we did before on that. So
is it for profit or non-profit?
It's a for-profit.
Yep. He'll probably make his money and wait.
When we heard, you went right on their website.
Yeah.
Picture and everything.
Oh, yeah.
House and oh my.
Yeah, I had to verify it. And lo and behold, there's the pictures on the website and everything. I'm like, oh my god,
Like you didn't have anything else to worry about.
No. So, but it is in process, and we'll get it straightened.
It flipped.
We'll work as fast as we can on that. Just know that we're aware of it. I mean, obviously, a lot of people are aware of it. I don't think there's any issue with it now because we're just trying to maintain our leverage of knowing as we try to get this, jump started. But now that obviously Orange County's been there, and we've already sent 2 registered cease and desist letters from our attorney, with the violations on it. The next thing is, we're going to be looking at the court, and then we're going to start. We do have the power to fine. That is laid out, and we haven't used it in the past because we can most solve anything. But this one is kind of just egregious enough in nature that it's time to escalate up and get this taken care of. So.
He knows better.
Well, it's the second time. I mean, first it was what was it? Airbnb. So second attempt, probably be a third and fourth.
Which we did have a cease and desist letter go out last Thursday to another home in Water's Edge who was doing Airbnb. That was reported to me. So.
Lovely.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Always.
Next time I see Tom Slayton, he owes me a beer. I'm tired of paying all these bills for Larson. He owes me something here. So, no, but we're aware of it, and hopefully, if you want, like I told Angelo, I would, I'd reach out to him if you want to just leave me your email. I can always just put you on a little list because I don't really broadcast this kind of thing. But I can at least keep you up to date. Say, hey, this is coming up, or this is what the latest is. So that's not a problem. So. Okay.
The only thing I had you already know about is that commercial vehicle that's parked in the driveway or on the street, kind of across the street from Virginia.
Yeah, and I got to go back and look. The commercial vehicle is that truck, that pickup truck, right? The white one with the signage on the door. I have to remember how it was on the street parking. I know it said no commercial vehicle. I don't recall if it said no commercial vehicle if it's in the driveway. And I know you can't have like a contractor van or like one of those, but to me it's just, I thought it was just like an F-150 with white and had the stamp
it
on
is, but it's still a commercial vehicle. It's got the commercial writing on it. And that defines it.
If it's visible,
Is it on the driveway or on the street?
It's on the driveway. Sometimes it's on the street.
Is it a homeowner?
Yeah, I believe it's a homeowner.
So then he can use a magnet sheet to cover the,
They could.
Yeah, but I feel so bad,
and
like,
that's it.
it's their
Yeah.
business, you know, so.
So, yeah, let me put that on Tom's radar too, because that's really a road issue, so that falls under Turtle Creek, regardless of what neighborhood it's in.
Well, you get one, then you end up with several others, so next thing you know, you're gonna have a air conditioning truck parked in the driveway.
Agreed, yeah, and we don't need them
Or a
to,
tow truck.
yeah, we don't need them popping up everywhere, so. But I'll add that to my weekly Tom Slayton call. Okay, anything else? If there's nothing else, we ran a little over tonight, that's all right. I will make a motion to close the meeting at 8:28 PM. Have a second?
Second?
All in favor of closure?
All right.
All right.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for sticking it out, homeowners.
Frank, you're gonna